So I've always asked myself this question: which generation has the best Pokemon overall? And I've asked it in a personal way because I don't really care which one has the most competitively viable ones. You can probably just sort the meta tier list by gen and come up with that answer fairly quickly. But I care about which generation has the most quality Pokemon catered to my particular tastes. The one that has the most Pokemon I enjoy versus the least that I don't. So to answer this, I put every single Pokemon in the franchise into a tier list, separated by generation, and I ranked them individually from S to A to B to C to D to F, and assigned them point totals based on the tier they were placed in, letting math do the rest. An S tier Pokemon would earn 5 points for its gen, an A tier 4, B tier 3, C tier 2, D tier 1, and the lowly F tier would net you a big fat 0 because how dare you create a Pokemon that garbage. I mostly ranked them according to how much I like them for whatever reason, but I also tried to factor in some objectivity in terms of the more iconic ones. Like, for example, I don't have a particular fondness for Pikachu, but I put Pikachu in the S tier for Gen 1 because it's Pikachu, you know? So you may ask yourself how this is fair, since some generations added more Pokemon than others, and the answer is because after adding up all the points a gen has earned, I divide that total by the amount of Pokemon there are, which creates a more even playing field and a much smaller number to work with as an overall rating. So let's say a gen's point total adds up to 400, and that gen had 150 new Pokemon in it. You would take 400, divide it by 150, and end up with 2.66666666, repeating and then round it to 2.67 to save yourself an embolism. Think of it as a little more than 2.5 stars out of 5, since 5 is the highest value you could ever attain in a perfect world where every single Pokemon in a gen was S tier, which would be insane. So now that the math explanation is out of the way, how about I show you where these generations ended up? I'll go through them in chronological order and explain a couple S and F tier placements along the way so you have some context. Gen 1 tier list activate. At any point you can pause and scour the list if you like, really let my godly placements sink in. They're in two separate screenshots because it would be too small otherwise, so I'll show you the bottom half in a bit. But here is the almighty nostalgic Kanto, and I already regret some of these placements. None of these are ordered within the tier, by the way. That would have taken weeks off my life. Some of the S tiers are there because of their impact on the anime, like Pikachu, Meowth, Jigglypuff, and Snorlax. Mewtwo's there because of the movie, and Ditto is there because he's a sex machine. I sort of wish I didn't put Cubone there, but he does kind of represent the dark side of Pokemon in a big way. If you're looking for Marowak, she's in D tier, lol, D for dead, got him. The rest are just ones I like. Moving on to the lower tiers, D tier is usually a hotbed for the first stages of bugs, the middle stages of starters, and Pokemon that didn't evolve into anything good. F tier is for Pokemon that are both useless and not cool in any way, so we've got the Cocoons in there, Magikarp, Farfetch'd, which is a Pokemon that served absolutely no purpose back then, Gloom, the ugly, drooling monster, and the psychic coupling of the pedophile and the hooker. I'll let you decide which is which. Gen 1 had a total of 17 S tiers, 32 A tiers, 22 B tiers, 43 C tiers, 30 D tiers, and 7 F tiers, for a total of 395 points, divided by the original 151, which nets us an average of 2.61 stars out of 5. And I'll tell you right now, nobody got higher than 3, so don't go thinking that's particularly bad. Gen 2 tier list, arise! Gen 2 added 100 new Pokemon to the roster, and for the record, all the Megas are being ranked in Gen 6, and the Alolan or Galarian forms of any older Gen Pokemon are being ranked during Gen 7 and 8, respectively. Otherwise, alternate forms aren't being counted at all, so no Thundurus T's or Kyurem Blacks. Back to Gen 2, we've got a fair amount of S's for how much fewer Pokemon there are. Pichu and Togepi get the iconic awards, same with Marill and Sudowoodo to an extent. Everyone remembers the first time the Weird Tree didn't like the Squirt Bottle and then the Weird Tree attacked. Wooper is just hella cute, Steelix is a monster, and Delibird is S for Santa. You may question my motives, but I just really like Octillery. That thing learns so many coverage moves it has no business having. Everything else is just cool, man. For the lower tiers, I think Gen 2 has the second worst starters overall, and a lot of the Pokemon in it just suck ass at battling and are dumb. F tier is for the babies nobody cares about, and there's a ton. Tell me who needed Igglybuff to exist. Tell me who was suffering until they created Cleffa or Smoochum. At least Tyrogue facilitates choosing which Hitmon you want, but being finicky with the stats is still lame. Unknown is an alphabet. 26 of your Pokemon are the alphabet. Obviously, they all count as one entity, but still, no thank you. I'll just read words in regular letters. Sunkern has the distinct honor of being the weakest Pokemon in the franchise with the lowest base stat total. Magikarp is both bulkier and faster. Dunsparce is a wasted slot, as is Corsola. I don't like Smeargle's whole thing. And Stantler is self-explanatory as the worst Pokemon Arceus ever created. They're trying to fix it with a Hisuian form in Pokemon Legends, but we know that's still a Stantler at heart. There's no fixing that. Gen 2 had a total of 20 S tiers, the most of any gen, 21 A tiers, 12 B tiers, 13 C tiers, 22 D tiers, and 12 F tiers, for a total of 268 points divided by 100 total Pokemon for a final ranking of 2.68 stars out of 5, just barely higher than Gen 1. Gen 3 tier list, assemble! Gen 3 was a bold play, taking every pre-existing Pokemon out of the local decks and starting fresh with a brand new one in the Hoenn region, something they only did once more in Gen 5 and then never again. I've liked it every time they've done it. I hope they do it again for Gen 9. The S tiers of Gen 3 are powerhouses. Almost everything here requires zero justification. Cacturn is just BA if you ask me. I wish it was more usable, but what a cool concept. I'll tell you why Wynot is an S tier, and it's because it always has a smile on its face as it redirects every attack thrown at it with double the power, joy never leaving its expression as it effortlessly murders anyone heartless enough to take a swing at it. Wynot is the face of retaliation, the face of consequences, the face of a deserved death. On the lower end, Gen 3 also has a lot of trash. Most routes will have maybe one worthwhile Pokemon and like 5 that'll never amount to anything. Gen 3 also had a buttload of one-off gimmick Pokemon that were just straight up useless. Volbeat and Illumise, Spinda, Relicanth, Lovedisk, like they put Lovedisk in there exclusively so one NPC could be like, couples who are thinking about marriage would often exchange Lovedisk as gifts. Excuse me, if my significant other gifts me a Lovedisk, I'm calling off the wedding. Why don't you gift me an on-fire paper bag with your poop in it? At least that would have been thoughtful. Castform is an unfinished Pokemon. They didn't even give it a Sandstorm form. You made a weather Pokemon and forgot about a weather. What is the matter with you? And if I had to guess, I'd say Masquerain is the least used Pokemon in all of Gen 3. It was so bad they had to buff its stats later on, and still nobody puts it on their team. Surskit is in D because I don't mind its concept, but Masquerain just deletes it in favor of being another garbage bug-flying type. Gen 3 had a total of 19 S tiers, 20 A tiers, 20 B tiers, 32 C tiers, 31 D tiers, and 13 F tiers, for a total of 330 points divided by 135 total Pokemon for a final ranking of 2.44 stars out of 5, the lowest ranking so far. The S and A tiers are great, but there's a lot of filler balancing it out. Gen 4 tier list, accelerate. Gen 4 was, and still is, the most important generation in Pokemon for the complete overhaul of the battle system it put into play, making the physical or special attribute of a move dependent on the move instead of its type. So types like Grass and Psychic could have physical moves instead of every move of that type being special like before. That said, the local Pokedex was nothing special, not even filling out enough fire types for Elite Four Flint to have half a team. However, Gen 4 was hard carried by creating new evolutions for older Pokemon instead. Almost all of them are S, A, or B tier. Wrecking Balls like Mamoswine and Ambipom, Weavile, Gallade, Honchkrow, evolutions that retroactively made their previous forms worth investing in, were a huge selling point for this gen, and they make up nearly half the S tiers. Staraptor gets S for being the evolution of the best Pidgey clone. Every gen has that gen's Pidgey, the bird that shows up in the first route of that game. Gen 1, it's Pidgey. Gen 2, it's Hoot Hoot, then Tailo, then Starly, then Pidove, Fletchling, Pikipek, and finally Rookidee for Gen 8. Staraptor's my fave. That dude just runs a train on people. Shinx is my second favorite Pokemon of all time, so I gotta give Luxray props. It looks cool as hell. Rampardos is actually a danger to itself and others. That man using Head Smash could one-shot a Blissey and kill itself in the process. Lucario is the iconic one, so that's a given. The new evolutions are goated, and Arceus created all the S tiers, so it would be kinda rude to put him in C or something. On the lower end, Gen 4 revolutionized the bug type by adding a bunch of super good moves like X-Scissor, U-Turn, and Bug Buzz, and accompanied that with making a bunch of bug Pokemon that were ass. Yanmega and Vespiquen were cool, but Mothim, Wormadam, and Kricketune were awful, and in order for Skorupi to be good, it had to stop being a bug type. I accidentally put both Shaman forms in the tier list, but I made sure the math wasn't affected. Shaman in the movie was an absolutely unlikable bitch, so she lost a few points. Gen 4 is where I feel like legendaries and mythicals largely stopped being good or important at all, with a few exceptions like Giratina up in S tier and some others in later gens. Gen 4 also added a stork factory's worth of more stupid babies. The first time I played Pokemon Diamond, I tried training Budew, and I had to wait so long for it to stop sucking and evolve into Roselia out of friendship that I just restarted my game and ended up catching a Roselia on a later route at like level 16. Actually a net negative addition to the roster, like most babies are. The new Gen 4 evolutions weren't all winners, though, because Licky Licky and Probopass are here sucking it up in F tier. Is Probopass a joke? Because it feels like a joke, a really bad joke. Gen 4 had a total of 19 S tiers, 22 A tiers, 15 B tiers, 24 C tiers, 18 D tiers, and 9 F tiers, for a total of 294 points divided by 107 total Pokemon, for a final ranking of 2.75 stars out of 5. The highest ranking so far. Definitely carried by those older evolutions. Most of their original Pokemon aren't the best. Gen 5 tier list up here. Personally, this was the gen I had the most confidence in going into the video. Tons of my favorites are from Gen 5. I think the S and A tiers in Gen 5 are the best S and A tiers of any of them. Gen 5 introduced an entirely new Pokedex like Gen 3 before it and knocked it out of the park in my estimation. Or did it? Nothing complicated about S tier, all those Pokemon are battle gods. Every single one can take massive stonks, except Duat. But Duat is still in S tier because he represents the hope of what he could have been, instead of turning into a lame Samurott. Samurott should have been a bipedal samurai with high speed and attack similar to Greninja, and they know it, which is why they made Greninja the very next water starter. Gen 5 also made all the best bug types. Galvantula, Excelgor, Livani, Scolipede, Volcarona, Crustle, Escavalier, they almost made too many. Actual overkill. Gen 4 gave them moves, and Gen 5 put bugs on the map. S tier has a bunch of my type favorites. Crocodile's my favorite ground type, Cinccino my favorite normal type, Mienshao for fighting, Chandelure for ghost, Excelgor for bug, Gigalith for rock, Victini for fire and psychic. Best mythical right there. I had to split this one into 3 because B and C tier were so stacked, so here's this for a second if you want to pause, and then we'll go lower. On the lower end, you've got 3 pointless elemental monkeys and some literal garbage. For F tier, we've got the wasted slots of Basculin, Alomomola, and Stunfisk. Tynamo eventually leads to a cool evolution, but boy does it suck to get there. Amoonguss can go away. Nobody's fooled, bro. You're not a Pokeball. We already did this with Voltorb. They should have made Durant worse and then gave him an evolution. Durant by itself is just like, how come? They tried to give it a Zangoose and Seviper thing with Heatmore, but it really doesn't sell. Gen 5 had a total of 19 S tiers, 28 A tiers, 38 B tiers, 39 C tiers, 26 D tiers, and 6 F tiers, for a total of 425 points divided by 126 total Pokemon, for a final ranking of 2.72 stars out of 5, just 0.03 less than Gen 4, which is crazy, and I don't buy it, even though I'm the one who did it. Gen 6 tier list approach. Gen 6 was the first and consequently only gen to make EV training something that didn't take eons or a bottomless wallet to accomplish, and I really appreciated that, and I wish the punching bag mechanic would make a comeback. Pokemon Ami made cultivating friendship a simple task as well, so Gen 6's quality of life improvements shouldn't be understated. Many people mark X and Y as the games that started Pokemon towards its trend of being for newbie toddlers as far as difficulty is concerned, and that is accurate. It was the first game to implement experience for all Pokemon, although you could still turn it off, and the Elite Four were a breeze. Gen 6 also introduced the controversial Mega Evolutions, which Game Freak soon forgot ever existed, but I thought they were pretty alright. There's a few of them in S tier. One thing to note about these screenshots is that the tier maker I used for Gen 6 forgot to put in like half the megas, and I didn't notice until I was already done. So ignore the megas in this one, and I did the megas by themselves in another one I'll show you later. As for S tiers, Fennekin is adorable, Braixen is a great middle stage, and while I like Delphox, it's definitely not as good as Greninja. Greninja is the best starter of all time, and I will die on that hill. I don't know how you can watch all of the XY and XYZ anime and have any other opinion. That dude is constantly pushing its limitations and putting on incredible performances. I also think Gen 6 has the best fossil Pokemon. Tyrantrum is a beast, and Amora is my favorite Pokemon. Period. Look how cute it is. Who cares if it can't battle? Amora is darling, and Aurorus has the coolest cry in the game. Hawlucha kicks ass, Goodra is Ash's strongest Pokemon, and the legendaries are an incredible return to form. For the lower tiers, there are only 3 Fs, which is impressive. Technically 6, because 3 of the Megas are in there too, as you'll see, but it's still the least amount of Fs in any gen, including the ones I haven't talked about yet. I mean, Binacle they didn't even try, and then for its evolution they were like, alright, just give it another rock and more arms. Carbink is a wasted slot, which is stupid because it's also rare. It's a rare Pokemon that sucks and doesn't do anything. I feel like Game Freak made it rare because they were embarrassed about putting it in the game. We'll move to the Megas real quick so you can actually see all of them. I love Mega Camerupt. I don't care what anyone says, it's my favorite Mega. Whoever made this tier list did a horrible crop job, but Mega Camerupt is goated. I'd imagine most people think Mega Charizard X is the best Mega, and I respect it. Down to the lower part, Mega Slowbro was a mistake. I would love for them to take back. Mega Kangaskhan just sends her baby out to attack like it's Luma or a frickin' Pikmin. I hope somebody aborts it. And Mega Aerodactyl just grew a goatee and got nailed to a wall. Gen 6 had a total of 20 S tiers, 28 A tiers, 21 B tiers, 19 C tiers, 24 D tiers, and 6 F tiers, for a total of 337 points divided by 118 total Pokemon, for a final ranking of 2.86 stars out of 5, the new highest amount. Wow. Gen 7 tier list. Amas! In Gen 7, we'll be counting all the Alolan forms as well as the new Pokemon. Regional variants are hype. It's just as good as making a brand new Pokemon. But sometimes the variants are bad. Well, sometimes new Pokemon are bad too. What's your point? It can be a great way to fix an old Pokemon or make them relevant again, and it's like a peek into an alternate universe where what if the regional variant was the original design? Whoa. Gen 7 Pokemon were kind of disappointing overall because not a single one of them has any speed. There's like 4 or 5 non-legendaries that are fast. They made Decidueye slower than Venusaur. I'm going to repeat that. They made Decidueye slower than Venusaur. It's unconscionable. You know who's not slow? Torracat, Lycanroc, Salazzle, Mimikyu, and Alolan Ninetales. That's why they're in S tier, because they're fast and cool. Fomantis is in S tier because it was supposed to have an evolution that didn't move at the speed of molasses for no reason. That doesn't mean I can't get behind some slower Pokemon when it makes sense that they're slow, like I'm a big fan of Mudsdale and Drampa, but most of these Pokemon have no speed for the sake of having no speed, or are trading it for not enough bulk or brawn to be a good trade. On the lower end, F tier's got the worst Alolan forms, like that awful Persian abomination, a Diglett with a twig on its head, and the world's fakest dragon. You are insulting me as a Pokemon fan when you, Game Freak, attempt to tell me this Alolan Executor is a dragon type. This Extendoneck Palm Tree is a dragon. Yep. Pyukumuku is a Pokemon that was invented specifically to be a nuisance. Tapu Bulu is the ugliest legendary in franchise history, while Cosmoem is the most useless, and that Poipole evolution is just unpleasant to behold. Gen 7 had a total of 15 S tiers, 13 A tiers, 26 B tiers, 25 C tiers, 19 D tiers, and 8 F tiers, for a total of 274 points divided by a total of 106 Pokemon, for a final score of 2.58 stars out of 5, which is now the second lowest rating behind Gen 3. Gen 8 tier list, attend. It's the final stretch. You guys still awake over there? Sword and Shield aren't everyone's favorite Pokemon games, but I liked them. The raids were sick and Dynamaxing was hype. The main story was more forgetful than usual, but we were also distracted by all the way better stuff on offer, like the Wild Area and the DLC islands, and multiplayer in general. I'm not counting the Gigantamax forms because they're not real, like it's an illusion, or however they explain it. Plus they released half of them after I was already done with the game, so I barely used any. It's no secret numerically that Gen 8 has the least amount of S tier Pokemon for me. There's only 9. I had to come around to the starters in this game, but after I did, I realized that Cinderace is easily in my top 3 favorite starters, while Inteleon is okay, and Rillaboom is the most boring Donkey Kong shit they ever pulled. Cinderace getting Libero as a hidden ability, which functions the same as Greninja's Protean and makes its type match the move it uses, is also huge and makes Cinderace an incredible lead. If they give any more Pokemon an ability like that, they're going to instantly become my faves. I think Phalanx is a really cool concept. Game Freak's like, let's make 6 different things one Pokemon. Worked for Execute, I guess. Morpeko is an example of a gimmick Pokemon that's actually good. I'm a fan. And Ice-type Darumaka is just as amazing as Fire-type Darumaka, but Ice-type Darmanitan takes a hit in the design department. I don't like his snowball afro. On the lower end, this might be controversial, but I think people don't realize how ugly Toxel is. It's a fat baby in a diaper. Toxtricity is cool, but Toxel just looks like you had a baby with the nastiest woman on earth. Impidimp is also ugly as hell. Pincurchin is Pukamuku with a yellow butt face, although at least it can battle. Ice-Q is what happens when people loved Mimikyu and you have no ideas for a sequel, so you encase a penguin head in a block of ice and give it the same ability. And I didn't like the whole matching jigsaw puzzle pieces going on with Dracozold. It felt like I was making a me character that was suffering. Gen 8 had a total of 9 S tiers, 14 A tiers, 22 B tiers, 26 C tiers, 17 D tiers, and 6 F tiers, for a total of 236 points divided by 94 total Pokemon, for a final score of 2.51 stars out of 5, putting it between Gen 3 and 7 as the second lowest score. So let's see the full rankings in visual form. Which gens came out on top and which gens ended up in the basement. Gen 6 carries the day with 2.86, followed by Gen 4 and 5 and second and third, with Gen 3 heading up the rear. Based on how close all of these numbers are, Pokemon is nothing if not consistent, always striking a balance between good Pokemon and ones that exist for no reason. You can rank these gens on any other criteria and probably end up with a wildly different ranking, but if you want to take my formula and undertake the rigorous process of tier listing every Pokemon to your own satisfaction, by all means the tools are available. But I sped through it and it still took like 4 hours, so set aside some time. But that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you like, share, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Sunburned Albino and watch me stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/sunburnedalbino. Watch every other video I've ever made with Japanese voice acting and Spanish subtitles, and I'll see you guys next time.